If you thought Salem was done exploding, think again. Because over the next 2 weeks, February 23rd through March 6th, Days of Our Lives turns into a full-blown pressure cooker. We've got a pregnancy moment that changes everything, hospital kidnapping that proves nowhere is safe, a corporate trap closing around Johnny DiMera, and a teen storyline that looks like drama, until it becomes dangerous. And here's the real twist. These stories aren't random. They're all about control. Who has it, who loses it, and who's about to pay the price. We open the next 2 weeks with something that sounds small, but isn't. Chanel Dupree DiMera heads to the hospital to see Sarah Horton for a prenatal checkup. One of those calm, everyday moments that soap fans know is never actually calm. Because in Salem, routine is usually just the calm before the next storm. And this appointment becomes a turning point the second Chanel hears the baby's heartbeat. That sound changes everything. Up until now, pregnancy can feel like an idea, something discussed, argued about, worried over. But hearing a heartbeat makes it physical, immediate, real. It's the moment Chanel can't emotionally walk back from, even if fear or doubt tries to creep in. It's grounding, and it's pressure. Because once that heartbeat happens, the question in Chanel's mind shifts from, "Am I ready?" to, "Is Johnny ready?" And that's where the spoilers start to sting. We're told Johnny will apologize to Chanel later, which strongly implies he misses this moment, or at the very least, he doesn't show up the way she needed him to. And in a relationship, missing the big moment isn't just about being absent. It's about what the absence communicates. Yes, Johnny being tied up with DiMera business is believable. DiMera never stops generating crises, legal issues, power plays, internal sabotage. It's constant noise. But here's the problem. Pregnancy doesn't care about corporate fires. If Chanel is sitting in a hospital room listening to her baby's heartbeat, and Johnny isn't there, that doesn't feel like he's busy. It feels like he's choosing something else. And that's how resentment starts, quietly. Not with screaming, not with betrayal, with little moments that can't be repeated. So Johnny's apology becomes a key emotional test. Because the apology could land 2 ways. If it's sincere and Johnny actually changes his behavior, it becomes a turning point that strengthens them. But if it's vague, defensive, or followed by more absences, it becomes the start of a pattern. One that Chanel will never forget. And there's another layer here that makes this even more interesting. Chanel isn't just pregnant, she's a DiMera wife now, meaning she's tied to a world where loyalty gets tested nonstop. So if she senses Johnny is being pulled deeper into DiMera chaos, she's going to wonder. Is this baby going to pull Johnny toward me? Or pull him even further into the life I'm afraid will swallow him whole? Because the show loves building couples up and then asking one brutal question. Can love survive when real life demands more than romance? And if Johnny is already walking into a corporate trap, he is, then Chanel may be watching her husband get distracted by the exact kind of power games that destroy families in Salem. So yes, this is about a baby heartbeat. But it's also about whether Johnny and Chanel can stay on the same side once the pressure becomes real. Now let's shift from emotional pressure to pure terror. Because Stephanie Johnson's stalker storyline doesn't just heat up over the next 2 weeks. It escalates into a full-on abduction. This isn't another creepy message. This isn't a shadow outside the window or a "you're being watched" moment. This is direct action. The stalker chloroforms Stephanie and snatches her from the hospital. And the hospital detail is what makes this so disturbing. A hospital is supposed to be the safest place in town. Controlled environment, staff, security, cameras, badges, check-in desks. A place where the average person assumes, if something happens here, someone will stop it. So if the stalker can attack in a hospital, it tells us something very specific. This person can blend in. They understand the system well enough to move through it without raising alarms. They know how to look official, act confident, and exploit the fact that people don't question someone who seems like they belong. This isn't just obsession anymore. This is planning. This is access. This is the kind of villain who doesn't just want to scare you, they want to own the situation. And the fallout hits hard because Stephanie isn't a random victim in Salem. She's Kayla's daughter. She's Steve's family. And she's Alex's new wife, meaning this kidnapping becomes a shockwave that hits multiple storylines at once. So of course Steve, Kayla, and Alex go into panic mode. For Kayla, it's the worst nightmare. Mother plus doctor plus administrator, realizing her daughter was taken from a place that's supposed to be protected. For Steve, it's personal and professional. The detective instincts kick in, but the emotional stakes are way higher. And for Alex, it's that devastating realization that marriage doesn't stop danger, it can actually intensify it. Because from a stalker's perspective, the elopement isn't romantic, it's threatening. It's Stephanie choosing safety, commitment, and a future. And stalkers hate futures they can't control. That's why the search becomes a full Salem operation. Brady, Jada, Kat, and Rafe all get involved, which is important because it tells us the show wants this to feel urgent, like the entire town is mobilizing. But here's the chilling twist. Even with all those people searching, Stephanie ends up unconscious, tied up in a storeroom somewhere. That means the stalker has time. Time to hide her. Time to reposition. Time to control the narrative. Time to decide what happens next. And this is where the storyline gets psychologically nasty. Stephanie may have nightmares or visions while she's restrained. And we're told she has a moment where she looks up and sees Jeremy Horton in horror. That moment is loaded. Because it gives us two possible directions, both terrifying. Option A. Jeremy is really there. Meaning he's involved, and this kidnapping is part of a bigger network or partnership. Option B. Jeremy isn't there at all. Meaning Stephanie's mind is fracturing under trauma, drugged, trapped, and terrified, pulling images of past fear into the present. Either way, it's effective, because it tells us the stalker isn't just controlling Stephanie's body. They're trying to control her mind. And if Jeremy is connected to this, he isn't alone, because Owen Kent is coming back, and that opens the door to something darker than a single stalker. It suggests a pattern, a repeat, a history of captivity returning with a vengeance. So the real question isn't just, who took Stephanie? It's this. Is Stephanie being targeted for who she is, or for who she's connected to? Because if this is about Kayla, Steve, Alex, or even something bigger tied to the hospital, then Stephanie might be the leverage point in a plan that's only beginning. Now here's where the Stephanie kidnapping storyline stops feeling like a random stalker plot, and starts feeling like a pattern. Because Owen Kent returns on February 27th. And Owen isn't a new face. Owen is history. He's literally Stephanie's former abductor, which means his return immediately reframes everything we've just seen. This doesn't read like coincidence. It reads like the show is saying, "You thought this nightmare ended? It didn't, it just evolved." And that's important, because stalker stories often have two phases. Phase 1 is intimidation, threats, fear, surveillance. Phase 2 is possession, kidnapping, containment, control. Stephanie's stalker has already crossed into Phase 2. So when Owen resurfaces, the logical question becomes, is Owen the mastermind, or the muscle? Because the kidnapping itself, chloroform, hospital infiltration, extraction without immediate capture, doesn't feel sloppy. It feels planned, coordinated, like someone knew exactly how to do this without setting off alarms fast enough. That's why Steve catching Owen in Salem is such a loaded moment. Spoilers say Steve will grab Owen and demand answers about Stephanie's whereabouts, and yes, this is classic days. Steve cornering a suspect and trying to force the truth out before time runs out. But the tension here isn't just, will Owen talk? The tension is what Steve realizes while he's interrogating him. Because if Owen plays dumb, denies involvement, or tries to twist the story, Steve may have to decide whether Owen is directly responsible for Stephanie's captivity, connected to the stalker as a partner, or being used by someone else. And that someone else possibility matters. Because the more organized this kidnapping feels, the more it suggests Stephanie is a piece of a larger agenda, not just a victim of obsession. Then we get one of the creepiest spoiler beats. Stephanie tries to wiggle out of her restraints and make a run for it, and Owen appears to tighten those restraints again, making it crystal clear she's not going anywhere. That moment is terrifying, because it's not just about physically stopping her. It's about sending a message. You don't get to choose. You don't get to move. You don't get to decide when this ends. That's psychological captivity. It's dominance. It's the kind of control that leaves trauma even after rescue. And yes, the rescue mission is coming in the week of March 2 to 6. The search party will get clues. The story will start moving toward a dramatic save. But the suspense lives in the timeline. How long does Stephanie have to endure this before help finds her? Because every extra hour adds consequences. And that's what fans sometimes forget. In Salem, the rescue isn't the ending. It's the beginning of the aftermath. When Stephanie comes home, she won't just return to normal life. She'll return with fear triggers, trust issues, and a different relationship to safety. Especially if this all happened inside a hospital, the one place she was supposed to be protected. So this storyline isn't just about catching Owen. It's about what the writers are setting up long-term, a trauma arc, and possibly a bigger conspiracy behind the kidnapping. Now let's talk about the storyline that's quietly becoming one of the most alarming, because it looks like teen drama on the surface, but underneath, it's something much darker. Holly Jonas lashes out at Ari Horton, and Ari tries to snap her back to reality, pushing her to get a grip and move past whatever glitch this is. And Ari's reaction makes sense, because from the outside, Holly's behavior might look like mood swings, stress, immaturity, typical Salem teen turbulence. But the audience knows something Ari doesn't. Holly isn't just acting out. Holly is being chemically manipulated. She's unknowingly taking Sophia Choi's antipsychotic medication. And that crosses a line instantly. Because this isn't gossip. This isn't social sabotage. This is medication interference, altering someone's brain chemistry without their knowledge or consent. That's why this storyline is so dangerous. Holly can't pull herself together, because she doesn't know what's happening to her. If you don't know you're being drugged, you don't know what to fix. So every conversation Holly has becomes a trap. People tell her she's overreacting. She starts doubting herself. She might feel ashamed. And Sophia stays hidden in plain sight, looking innocent. Then we get the escalation point. Holly is going to need a supplement refill soon. That means Sophia has to keep the pipeline going. And this is where things get more disturbing, because Sophia recruits Rachel Black to help deliver Holly's gift. That's a huge red flag. Because when a villain pulls a younger kid into the scheme, it creates two problems. It spreads responsibility, making it harder to trace back to Sophia. It creates guilt collateral, because Rachel may not fully understand the damage she's helping cause. Rachel might see this as a favor, or a secret mission. Sophia might frame it as harmless. But the consequences won't be harmless. And spoilers warn that Holly may spin out with dangerous consequences. That suggests one of two things. Holly's behavior escalates until she gets herself into real physical danger, or Holly's mental and emotional stability collapses publicly, causing social fallout and long-term damage. Either way, once Holly hits a breaking point, Tate Black is going to panic. And that makes sense, because Tate is the person most likely to notice, this isn't normal Holly. So the suspense isn't just, will Holly be okay? It's who discovers the truth, and how. Does Tate connect the dots because he knows her best? Does Ari get suspicious because she's the one being targeted by Holly's outbursts? Or does someone medical, like Sarah, notice something physically off and start asking questions? Because the minute someone realizes Holly's been taking the wrong meds, Sophia's entire scheme collapses. And when it collapses, it won't be quiet. It will be explosive, because the question won't just be, why did you do it? It'll be, how long were you willing to let this go? And if Rachel was involved? That creates another emotional bomb waiting to detonate. In the middle of all this darkness, the show throws in something that feels lighter, a new spark. Liam Sellico makes an intriguing connection with Ari Horton, and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. One of those soft, harmless moments that feels like a break from chaos. But here's the day's trick. Whenever the show gives you something sweet, there's usually a storm cloud attached. Spoilers hint that Liam may give Ari a proper kiss later as their mutual attraction grows. So yes, on the surface, this looks like a new teen romance building. But Liam isn't entering Ari's life as a clean slate. Because Liam is tied to something extremely dark, the crypt kidnapping operation. He gave police a description of the man who hired him, Klaus, who put him to work preparing the crypt for kidnapping victims. And even if Liam didn't understand the full horror at the time, he's still connected to it. That connection makes him valuable, and dangerous. And now E.J. DiMera wants to see him. That's not a casual conversation. That's power moving in. Because EJ doesn't meet with someone like Liam for no reason. EJ is strategic. EJ is ruthless when he wants revenge. And EJ offering Liam a ton of money isn't generosity. It's leverage. It's buying silence, buying loyalty, or buying a task that EJ doesn't want traced back to him. And Liam's weakness is obvious. He's desperate for cash. So this becomes a moral crossroads. Does Liam take the money and step deeper into a world he barely escaped? Or does he refuse, and risk what happens when powerful people don't get what they want? Either choice is dangerous. And if EJ is using Liam to get to Klaus, and Klaus is tied to Vivian Alamain, then Liam becomes a pawn in a revenge chain that can snap at any moment. Now here's where Ari becomes part of the suspense. Because if Ari is growing closer to Liam while Liam is being pulled back into criminal power games, Ari may end up standing next to someone with secrets that could blow up her life. That's what makes this romance compelling. It's not just about attraction. It's about timing. Ari is stepping toward Liam at the exact moment Liam may be stepping back into danger. So the question heading into the next episodes becomes: is Liam truly trying to change, or is he about to drag Ari into a storyline she never saw coming? Because in Salem, romance doesn't just create happiness. It creates exposure. Over in Alemania, Leo Stark and Dmitri von Leuschner continue their efforts, and they start opening up, growing closer. Leo may surrender to a kiss. This storyline feels like emotional contrast, romance and intimacy, while other plots are terror and chaos. But in soaps, closeness often becomes leverage. If Leo and Dmitri reconnect, it can either humanize them, or set them up for heartbreak when the larger Alemania mess explodes. Now we circle back to Johnny, and this might be the storyline that destroys his sense of control the fastest. Xander Kuriakis and Kate Roberts Brady's trap for Johnny will move forward. Johnny took the bait when it comes to publishing Bonnie Kuriakis' book at DiMera Enterprises. And here's the twist that makes it truly dangerous. Johnny may land in hot water for sharing proprietary Titan information. Xander got Johnny to sign an agreement involving that topic, while casually letting Bonnie's book drop into Johnny's lap. That is classic trap design. Make the target feel generous. Make it feel like a win. Make it feel personal. And while they're focused on helping someone, get them to sign something that explodes later. So Johnny might think he's helping Bonnie, but he may have just handed Xander the legal weapon he needs. And once lawyers get involved, nobody wins clean. The next 2 weeks aren't just about shock moments. They're about systems failing. A hospital fails to protect Stephanie. A relationship fails to stay aligned under pressure. A teen group fails to see the danger until it's too late. A corporate empire becomes a trap instead of a shield. So the question isn't just, what happens next? It's this: who breaks first? Stephanie under captivity, Johnny under legal pressure, or Holly under chemical manipulation? Because Salem is about to shake, and when the dust settles, someone's life won't look the same. Stay tuned, because Days of Our Lives is about to deliver shockers, shakeups, and consequences that don't end with a rescue.